And on Pure Country Reacts, this is part 2 of Lexi's concept,
reaction and theory.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I want to say part 2, go back and review part 1. It's just a short sampler.
Mood sampler.
It's a mood sampler, and wasn't really a whole lot to break down other than some of what was being used. But as we go through video number 2, hopefully I'm on board, because I was really confused. So anyway, thank you to all our subscribers, and if you're visiting, thank you for visiting. We hope you stick around. Please subscribe. Before you leave, please remember to leave us a thumbs up and share any comments that you may have. Thoughts, do's, don'ts. Did you like it? Did you not like it? We appreciate all constructive criticism, so you're not gonna hurt nobody's feelings. But anyway, let's get into part 2 of Me, Myself, and Jimin.
Okay, so no sound in this one. Concepts typically don't have voices of any kind, and we want to avoid as much copyright as possible, because it seems like the music videos tend to get everybody with copyrights nowadays. So let's see here. It's pretty short. Okay, whoa, this is a lot to take in right now, okay. So he actually chose the chains, because I remember that being on the table in the mood sampler.
And if you don't know what she's talking about, go back and review video number 1. Believe me, it's not going to take very long. There's a big table with a lot of different choices for him, since this, of course, is Yes, this is BTS's. Each one's going to be doing this, so this is going to be his vision and his idea, his concept. So they just gave him a lot of things to choose from. So
alright, so we got a bunch of mannequins here wearing masquerade masks that look like deers, which I presume is like Artemis, but still with the mannequins here, like I said before, they seem to be soulless, all the same, and there's so many of them too. And especially since he had said before he was creeped out by them, it almost seems like an overbearing feeling.
Or a slight fear, not of the mannequin, but maybe of what the mannequins represent. No emotion, maybe no soul, no feeling.
No soul, no feeling. And a couple people I knew before that were afraid of mannequins said they always felt like they were being watched when they passed mannequins, like in clothing stores and all that. So that could be part of it as well.
Of course, a lot of it now, the mannequins don't even have heads anymore. So
yeah, they don't have heads anymore. Or that, or they have no faces. They used to have really distinct faces.
They really did.
Yep. So this is almost like a cubism form of a masquerade mask of a deer.
And didn't you hear something about something about the antlers, the horns?
Yeah. Well, what people were saying before was that it was supposedly deer horns. Demon horns. No, it's deer horns. And there's a difference between the deer that I remember seeing one time before. Let's see. So it would be a buck, because it's got the long horns.
But yeah, a buck is a male deer, and they are the ones that have all the points.
Yeah, a buck symbolizes speed, stamina, virility, leadership, and regeneration, which could be healing, change, and maybe trying to be more confident. But that's the thing is the mannequins are wearing these. Okay, he's wearing white in the middle of the mannequins. So he's definitely trying to stand out. But one thing I think is interesting is the fact they're all wearing black, but he's the only one wearing white. But he's not wearing his mask. But yeah, I just saw it a second ago, his white deer mask. And one thing I know from masks is that masks are tended to use as a part of a facial hiding, which you think about it, eyes are the window to the soul. But if you cover half of your face, it's like you're trying to protect yourself or protect something that you don't want people to see, or protecting from what you don't want people to see, as the fact that you're afraid of how they're going to judge you. And typically in front of millions of people, I would say the mannequins, he can't really be himself around them a lot of times.
So he would be hiding behind the mask. So the mask would possibly be what... A shield, but a mask would be what everyone else sees. What's behind the mask is the true identity of the mask wearer.
See, and you think about it, all these people, he doesn't know the identities behind them, but they're overbearing and they're surrounding him.
And if they're all wearing buck horns, are they all male?
Yeah, they're all male, but the thing is, the difference is the coloration of it. Black tends to be overpowering, overbearing, and tends to have a higher position and very mysterious. So all of them wearing black masks is very interesting, but has the same meaning as the buck, but I think it's more of a negative feeling to those than it would be if it was a white mask. See, he's wearing black there. Okay, wait up a second. You know, I've just had this weird thought here. I think I told you this before, several years ago, but, you know, I had a vision of a person that helped me get over my last crush. Remember that one?
Yep, she had a 2-year crush on someone.
That it was not really worth it, but I mean...
No, but they became friends. She got a friendship out of it, but...
still friends, but I mean, it's fine.
But the way things work with Lexi is people come across her path, and then they leave her path.
But I had a vision, I think, in late 11th grade, early 12th grade as well. I had two or three different ones.
So, let's see, you're 20 now, so it would be around age 17 or 18?
17 and 18.
So, that's 2-3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and what's really weird about it is the vision that I had those years ago. I don't know, this concept, his hairstyle, everything about this concept, even in the black seated down, looks exactly like that vision.
What, the man that was in the vision? You kidding? She's always shared with me different things that happens to her. As we said before, she's a very spiritual person. She is gifted on many levels. She didn't share, though, that the realization that and she's not saying Jim is her soulmate. Okay?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't know who it is.
She doesn't know who it is.
But he looks in this vision, even the white and the black, he looks identical.
Which is very interesting.
And even the backdrop and everything is identical.
That's interesting.
That's freaky.
Yeah. And she talks to me about everything, so this is the first I'm hearing about this. So, are you just now coming to this realization?
It's kind of hard to see that if we're having all these different hair colors. I don't usually know, but the thing is
so it was someone with dark hair.
Dark hair to this length. It looks exactly like his face and his body structure, and even
the thin frame. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, no, don't come for nobody. She's not saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
She's not saying Jimin is her soulmate, but she does believe that this is a bit, not Jimin, that her vision was of her soulmate.
Possibly.
So,
and honestly, if that were to be kind of true, I want my soulmate to have the same qualities that Jimin does, as being very compassionate, loyal, caring, and a very honest and truthful person. I want somebody who has those positive qualities.
And she definitely needs someone who is actually like her. Gifted.
Because otherwise they won't understand me. They'll either think I'm crazy, they'll probably want to use me like the rest of my ex-friends have.
She has, for her entire life, had friends come and go, not due to anything of her, but because she has led basically a solitary life as a person who is gifted. Gifted people are very misunderstood. Am I talking about gifted with brains? No, I'm talking about spiritually gifted. When I say she reads your aura, she reads your aura. When she says she looks at eye color, she's not looking to see if you have blue, green, or brown eyes.
There's a color behind your eyes that tells me your personality as well.
Right. It's almost like she said in the last video, eyes are the windows to the soul. Your true eye color resides behind your natural eyes.
And I can typically tell what kind of person you are, even without saying the eye color. I can look at your eyes and tell what kind of person you are just based on how your eyes look.
And so the friends come and the friends go. They
typically just don't see the true me. They don't really try to see the true me.
No, they basically try to use her for the knowledge that she has. They basically use her for her knowledge of things that a lot of people don't know about or don't see or don't understand. They try to use her for her knowledge, and they would take what's called more of a negative left-hand path that was not, which is not her path. Her path is a light path with good, and she needs a person that is like her. So for the majority of her life, she has basically been solitary, except for with us. And no, I'm not an overbearing mom. I've always encouraged her to go out, make friends, and do things. But when you see how people use other people, so I can sort of kind of understand how this sort of speaks to you too, because maybe Jimin also feels like when they look at him, they don't see Jimin.
They only see him as a celebrity and as a sex symbol.
They see him as a celebrity. They see him as famous. They see him as rich.
And a sex symbol.
And as a sex symbol, but they don't
see Jimin for himself as a human being and has feelings.
Exactly. So that makes a whole lot of sense. So yeah, she would need someone who also has those qualities, the qualities that she would have, and they would need to totally understand her.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that this resembles my vision. It's a little freaky, to be honest, but okay.
Yeah. I've always wondered, she tried to describe who this vision of this person was, and she's had multiple visions of this person, multiple, and she's always tried to describe it, she's tried to draw it, and so now at least I have a face to go, or at least a generalized idea of the person that is supposed to be your soulmate, you know.
Well, from what I had heard, that there's 7 other people in the world that look exactly like you. Don't know how true that is. I've never met my twin before.
Yeah, no, now, listen.
Oh, God, you're going to kill me with this
Listen, it is really, really hilarious. She doesn't think it's hilarious, and I never saw it, but since she started school, and she hated it. Oh, God, seriously, she hated it. People would come up to her from kindergarten up. Teachers, and then as she got older, students. And they would say, and I don't see it, and you may not see it, she doesn't see it, and she always hated it. It's not happened in years, but people would say she looked like Selena Gomez. And honestly, when she would go to the next grade and maybe meet some new people, the first thing people would say to her is, do you know who you look like? She'd say, don't say it.
I knew who Selena Gomez was before I even knew her.
She knew who Selena Gomez was before she ever knew who Selena Gomez was.
I knew her in kindergarten.
So that's the only person she's ever really been compared to. And if you look at her now, I don't see it. I've never saw it. There's other people who say yes,
people kind of say that because of the brows, the shape of the face, and the fact that we're both Hispanic.
So yeah.
But
she's actually mixed. She's white and Hispanic.
Well,
but
I mean, I think Selena Gomez is mixed too.
She may be. Yeah, I don't know.
But still.
But I never saw it, and maybe they won't say it.
I mean, nothing against Selena Gomez, just I hated hearing it all the time.
Exactly. And especially when she didn't know who she was. So, but anyway, back to Jimin's concept. So at least now I have an idea. But she's always said who her ideal was, who her soulmate would be a person with these qualities. And he has a lot of those qualities, and I think all men should have a lot of these qualities. But those qualities you have to be born with. So her qualities are the same with the kindness and the
openness, loyalty.
Yeah. Shy. When you see her on here, you might not think she can't be shy. She's doing a video. I just had to have a discussion with her before this video and said, listen, Lexi, please look at the camera once in a while. She said, this is really uncomfortable for me.
I'm really shy. I'm trying to get out of my shell, and it's really hard to.
Just the fact that she's on here talking is huge. Okay, it's huge. So anyway, all right, so now I at least have a generalized idea. At least I have a visual now, so I sort of kind of have that, so which is interesting.
And really, and I think it's interesting because we've been speculating as well that we think Jimin might be gifted in some kind of way, similar to me. And I don't think he realizes that he's said and done things that resemble a gifted person, or at least a healer of some sort. Because a lot of his qualities of being the person everybody goes to for comfort, for hugs, how he immediately senses someone's in distress or someone's upset. He doesn't even have to ask them. He immediately goes over and hugs them.
And also, a thing that we've pointed out, well, not pointed out, but she and I have pointed it out to each other, is that several members, more members than less members, go to Jimin for comfort. Now, do they go to Jimin for comfort because he's a hugger? No. There is something in him that spiritually heals them. She has the same thing.
I've had to do it to my dad before several times when he was sick.
It's a thing where when you feel the lowest of lows and you are so you just don't want to get out of bed, you can absolutely hug her or be touching her, and you gradually start to feel better. And I think this is probably one of the many gifts that Jimin has.
And even the fact that Heidi had said, even just seeing Jimin just warms his heart.
Exactly.
Which is very interesting.
So there's a lot. I mean, and if you sit and look at a lot of the videos, you can see the things. And he's not the only one. There are several other members that are gifted as well. Do they know it? Do they not know it? We don't know.
Jimin just shows more of it more frequently, but some of the others do show some of their gifts, even just on the down low.
Right. And I, like I say, we don't know if they know or if they don't know, but a spiritual person gets to the point where they can start to see other people who are gifted in some way, shape, or form. We all have gifts, but there are some people who have multiple gifts, which is
and of course the most common gift that we all have, except for some sociopaths and psychopaths, is empathy.
And if we didn't have empathy,
oh honey,
this would be a terrible world. We have to, sympathize and have empathy for other people. So but anyway, it seemed like too you had mentioned before something about the white box, the box that was lit up.
White's typically of purity and truth. Now, the fact that he's sitting on a boxes typically symbolize holding in or enclosing something, and typically it's hiding a truth from other people. Now, and you think about it, in the black, he's in a very different position, a very different facial appearance as well. It's trying to be more seductive. But that's the thing, is it's almost a put on when he's sitting in front of the box of white, which he was wearing a white outfit before. Mm-hmm. But he's wearing the black outfit sitting on the white.
So, do you mean that the black outfit is the Jimin everybody else sees?
And what they want to see him as.
So, that makes a lot of sense.
Because you think about it, when he's just with the 7 members, he's very shy, he's very modest and to himself a lot of times, but when he's on stage in front of the fans, he has to act seductive and sexy.
He does. He has to behave in a manner that's not really consistent with
his personality.
Or
his comforts either.
I mean, because I think too, we've already saw that several of them are introverts.
Yeah.
He as well is an introvert.
Most of them are introverts, actually.
She's an introvert.
And
I don't know. I used to be an extrovert, but I grew into being an introvert because I just don't like people no more.
It's from life experiences. But,
it really is.
But the thing that I find interesting is the fact that the fans won't see him this way, so he has to make this a persona. Mm-hmm. He has to live this persona basically most of his life.
Almost like The Mask.
Mm-hmm. So. And if you think about it, and I saw this in the videos from when they went to America and performed, I couldn't go because... Well, that's halfway across the country.
Right. They don't come near us. But I mean, if you even take, and that's a good point, if you take the stage pictures of BTS in Korea, and then you take the pictures of BTS on stage in America,
it's very
and you
different.
compare those to the fact that what fans basically across the world are the same. American fans are probably some of the worst because our country is highly into sexualization of men and women.
Mostly of men nowadays.
Right. But men are toxic too, but we won't go there. Anyway, so the dress, the attire are totally different in 2 different places. However, I think too in South Korea,
they're more modest.
They're more modest with what they wear, but they still have that. They have to behave in a more seductive, outgoing manner. So you got to think about what kind of pressure that would put on a person to...
So basically you have to create a alter personality basically
Exactly.
in order to live like that, because the thing is they perform all the time, so it's basically a double life.
It really is, and to maybe flip in and out of that, so maybe his concept's going to show us a little bit.
That actually makes sense of the name called Chaos, because it's like the chaos and the battle between both personas, because he's got his shy pure side, but then he has to be outgoing, charismatic, and seductive.
Right. But not so much a good and evil.
No.
It's 2 people in one.
Mm-hmm.
And,
of opposites.
Right. So who is the real Jimin? Well, we would think that the real Jimin is the one that's behind the mask. The one that nobody sees except family,
And him.
intimate friends, him, something like that, they would know and see the real Jimin, whereas nobody else would be able to see that. And I think maybe if her ideas are right behind the symbolism, that maybe that's what's going on here.
But it would make sense that he's trying to convey himself into a music concept, just because the fact Libras are very artistic. They're not very vocal about their feelings directly. They like to portray it in art forms. So this is a very interesting way to explain how he's feeling, and probably has felt for years.
Right.
Because I think I've heard him say before, he really finds it hard to talk to people about things and likes to deal with it on his own. But it almost seems like he's just piling it up inside of him.
And yeah, think about all the years of having to do this. You know, these
Living double lives.
They were kids basically when they got started. They basically forwent their teen years, and they went straight into all of this. And this probably does create a bunch of chaos
That makes a whole lot of
within
sense.
a person. Exactly.
The mannequins again, and he's still the black suit is still just sitting on the light, but the white is around all these other people in black.
Right.
Okay. I guess we see who the real Jimin is,
You gonna have to explain
because he's wearing the white mask
okay.
and he's in the white.
And secondary to that, like Lexi said, the not demon horns.
Yeah, they're deer horns, basically
horns.
symbolizing Artemis, because he wanted to go with a great mythological theme. I don't know who in the world thought those were demon horns. I've never seen demon horns like deer
And I
horns.
think maybe what a lot of people have even thought too, with the whole white and black, with the whole chaos, maybe they thought this was going to be a good and bad, good and evil, evil versus good or something. And I don't really think that's what it is. I think it's more like what you said. This is what you see. This is the person behind that.
Yeah, and it's like the double personas that are opposites. Because of course, Jimin is shy, but then he has to act charismatic when it comes to performing. It's very different sides of the coin, but it's the same person, but he has to behave differently, and he has to look differently.
In a different manner, exactly.
And if you see how he dresses when he goes to fan meets or he has to perform, he has to dress a certain way versus when he dresses for himself.
Right.
Best thing is you can tell the difference between him on stage and off stage, and I think
Exactly.
this is a part of that. It might be insecurities, it might be what he's been feeling all these years of how he visions himself as being basically two in one. Could be.
Right. And I think we even had viewed a video a couple weeks ago where he even said himself, not to try and quote what he said, but it was basically in a nutshell, sort of kind of what you see and what you don't see, I can't remember specifically.
People don't try to get to know the real him, because fans only see him as an artist. They see him as a famous celebrity. They see him as BTS Jimin, not Jimin as a human being. His feelings, his insecurities, his fears,
It's humanity.
his humanity. They don't see him for that. And the thing is, and what's so sad about it, is looking at these videos. If you actually look up this video and look at the comments, you'll see that's exactly what they see him for. It's only his
a visual.
visuals. It's his
a visual.
visuals, it's his name, that's it. They don't ever try to figure out what his concept means. They don't try to figure out what he's trying to convey. They don't try to see what he's feeling.
What's the message
What's the message behind it?
Maybe some of his songs, too, because he's written some of his own songs.
See, nobody tried to figure it out until he said what the song was about.
Exactly.
And that's a sad thing to say. You want your fans to understand you, but they don't try to understand him. They only see him as a famous celebrity. And that's a lot of pressure, too, because he even says himself, with that situation, he feels alone.
Exactly.
And he sometimes feels like he's not even noticed or understood by the BTS members either. So he really feels double alone.
Right. So, I, as I said before, just between me and her, this would be a really hard life for somebody. I mean, yeah, he has fame and he has fortune now.
But that doesn't make
But
him happy.
At what cost to him and to the way he even perceives himself to himself.
Seems like chaos. He perceives himself
Right.
as a mess.
Yeah, exactly.
And you think about it, he can't live a normal life like the rest of us. He can't go to a store without being watched by paparazzi. He can't travel anywhere without several bodyguards. He can't go to the airport without a bunch of creepy, crazy women wanting to run him down like they did Jen several years ago.
Right. And two, the thing is constantly being watched like this and being in the public eye, the judgments always
the face of the mannequins with
always.
black faces.
Exactly. So that does make a lot of sense to me, and maybe this is the best way for him to convey it, because Army always says they understand things and how much love they have for him, but I really don't think that they do, because they don't look beyond the stage.
No, they don't look beyond the stage. If you ask an Army, what's their favorite thing about each member, I could probably guess within, my 5 fingers of different things, and it'd all be some type of visuals.
Yeah.
And it's a really sad thing to say.
It really is. And
a lot of their favorite videos, photos, and GIF files is them being on stage, not them being human beings.
Or it's and to show you the interest that a lot of armies have. Not all armies. Some armies are normal. But to sort of kind of put it right down to a lot of the videos we see maybe on Instagram, on YouTube and things like that are them moving on the stage, or eating, or in some of their in the soup, or
some of their little TV episodes.
Right, their little episodes. Do you know what you hear? Music. They are not interested in even hearing
what they're trying to say,
what they're saying to each other. Because when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I hit videos, I scroll through and I'll take the sound off because I want to hear what they're saying. It's music.
And that's what's so horrific to me. I think 2 days ago you said Jimmy was on Weverse again. He's been doing that more recently since he's had more time to do so, and I think he's probably maybe almost finished with the song, who knows. And he has said recently he wanted to get into some construction projects since he's got more time to do extracurricular things in his off time. And he made a little tiny house with a yard out of little building pieces, his own work. And we saw it on a post in our Google page, because we typically have to Google a lot of things, because we
always Google stuff.
We always got to Google stuff. Google's our best
Not about
friend.
BTS. We have to Google a bunch of stuff.
We even Google about the hurricane around here, or Hurricane Ian right now, just to make sure.
Side note, I had to Google how long to bake chicken fried steak in the oven earlier. Okay, baked chicken fried steak in the oven, temperature and length of time. We Google all the time.
Anyway, but we saw a post where he had been on Weverse and had showed some of his construction passions right now,
which was basically a model. It was like a little model, like somebody would do model cars.
Mm-hmm. But what was so depressing about it was nobody talked about the little house he made. See, look how cute this is. Look at that cute little house.
So that's what he was doing. That was what he was building. And I think I started her a subscription for Weverse, but it doesn't really do a lot of good because we don't speak Korean.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. She's been trying to study it, and she's been trying to learn it, because otherwise everything we watch in Korean is we got to be reading so much. So
the part where you said
oh yeah, so you'll have to go down, not coming earlier. Go ahead and scroll down.
Okay, now, you see here, if you can read this, I hope you can. As expected, armies were mesmerized, and even when he wasn't talking but focusing on the project, Jimin's visuals didn't fail to make an impact.
So let's not worry about that he is sharing something that he thought
was fun and it's a passion of his.
Maybe somebody would like it. Maybe that would spark an interest, maybe. Or at least it was something he was interested in doing.
See, and I heard he was wanting to do construction, so I was actually surprised he made a little model. I mean, it's something new.
Is it construction, or is it building models and stuff? Because when you say construction, I'm thinking about big buildings and hard hats.
Well, I mean, there's little construction, because he's even made jewelry for himself as well.
Okay, so he's into making things with his hands. Because I don't know about y'all, but when she said construction, I thought, I can't even imagine Jimin in some big boots and some old dirty jeans with a hard hat on a construction site. I couldn't do it.
But anyway, you see here what they're interested in. Not what he's doing, just what he looks like.
Right. Which is really a sad thing, to constantly be judged on what you look like, because newsflash, everybody gets old.
And they have been asked before, armies have been asked before by a Korean television show, the fans in the crowd. Several people were asked, how would you feel about BTS 20 years later from now? Maybe they're fat or they're old.
They had nothing to say.
They couldn't answer it.
So that's the thing. So that's why it's really important when you find your significant other, people date and date and date, and they trying to find that person that they can grow old with, but really it can't be about visuals, because eventually as we age those visuals go away, so we have to learn.
But the eyes never change, just like
right, but you have to learn what is inside the person, and that's what you follow with, because even when this changes, the heart never does, the soul never does. So that's one of the things that really sort of kind of drives Lexi crazy. She likes to read different articles and stuff, and
it's honestly infuriating.
right, it's not a crazy army thing. It's just she spends a lot of time on Google and doing videos and researching and looking things up, and
then that some of these things pop up.
These things just pop up, so she'll read whatever it says. I mean,
and you think about it, with all these people around him, they're overbearing, they're wearing the black, they're mysterious, they're figures he doesn't know.
They surround
him, but he has to hide himself, his true self, which is the white, behind a mask.
Right.
Because he has to behave a certain way.
And then they all have masks on as well.
See, and if you think about it, what I said before about Artemis was supposed to be a representation of darkness and was supposed to be bad and vengeful. So he has to hide behind sort of kind of the bad perceptions, like the seductive nature. Mm-hmm. But he has to hide his true pure self behind this, because fans want to see him act sexy.
Fans want to see on stage Jimin. Fans don't care to see Park Ji-min.
But anyway, this concept definitely makes a lot of sense of what he's trying to say.
And this basically, as we said in the very first video, we may not have said it at the beginning of this one, but these are just
theories.
These are Lexi's theories. These are Lexi's opinions, and this just goes to a lot of the symbolisms
that I've learned over the years.
That she's learned over the years, and the things that she, look into. Because especially if something says it is a concept, and there is so much symbolism in it, then you have to start to kind of look at, okay, what does this mean, and what does this mean, and how can this be applied to that person? And then when you realize that this person has been on a stage for 13, 14 years.
I'd say probably about like 10 or 11 years. I mean, it's been a long time for anybody.
They've been around so long that you have to start trying to figure out what is this person saying without this person saying it. So it's a good thing to sort of kind of pay attention to people and to look at all aspects of them.
Anyway, so let's continue before we talk anymore. I know this has probably been a lot of talking, but the thing is you need to understand Jimin as a human being and not just a sex symbol and celebrity like we do, because that's just a horrible thing to imagine, seeing that your fans do this all the time.
Right.
And it's just...
And that you only have a few people in your life, or maybe in your small circle,
that you feel like understand you.
That you feel like know the real you.
And he even feels like the BTS member don't understand him half the time.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I think the closest persons that he would have that would understand him...
This is his brother and parents, probably.
Well, I mean, as far as BTS members.
I would say probably the two youngest, since they were always the closest.
They were closer in age, so that makes a lot of sense. And Tay had been around before BTS, so...
Yeah. Let's continue. So he's still the black on the light box. See, it's like hiding his true self in that box, but he has to put on this persona.
It makes
Especially
sense.
Since black is usually typically seductive. And it's a very seductive position. See, the white still. See, and the black never puts on that mask. The white is the part that he's hiding.
So he don't put on the black mask, he's putting on the white mask, is what you're saying. Okay, okay, I see.
That was a lot of talking, y'all. I apologize, but the thing is these are my opinions and these are theories I have gotten from actually looking for symbolisms for years, especially helping people with some of their dreams, thoughts, or anything like that. So,
not to mention the fact that there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in Hollywood nowadays, and it's one thing to look at the symbolisms in songs, in music videos, in lyrics.
The symbolism typically tells you what their intention is.
They're conveying something to you and how they're conveying it, and maybe it's something that you're not going to pay that much attention, like a bunch of people wearing checkerboard or whatever. So you delve into and you start looking at things to try to understand what message is being sent across to you. Conveyed. A better word. Translating how it speaks to you.
Because some people who are artsy would understand the art forms and what they're trying to convey more than a person who doesn't really like art that much.
Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting to see what others, their concepts, and maybe the only reason there's 3 right now is because maybe they've been working on these concepts
For a while.
for a long time. I don't really, I think that Jim knew what he wanted to convey and came up with a concept of how to translate that to maybe where people could dig a little deeper.
Yeah, people don't typically do that.
And that's really actually what you should do. I mean, some things are just not in plain sight. Some things are not just put out in those words.
And some things are not directly as they seem to be. Some things are hypothetical. Some are like, what is it called? It's what's my word? They're like riddles almost. They don't make sense directly when you read it, but there's a hidden message there somewhere.
Exactly. And we're not talking about subliminal messages. A lot of times the messages are in plain sight. You just really have to look for them.
The details and how to put the details together.
And as we said before, though, this is just what, you know, not what me, I have no clue. I'm not a person who looks deeply into anybody else. I got too old to look deep into anything anymore. I barely look deep in my refrigerator, okay? So, anyway. Yeah, that was funny. Come on. Yeah. But anyway, these are just her ideas and what she's, you know, seen in the past or what she's read in the past, the symbolisms behind those and what those could possibly mean. Do they mean that? Do you see something different? You know, what do you think? It's always interesting to see some of the things that they come up with. Because they usually do a lot of the photo concepts as well.
Yeah, because I think he had sent out photo concept teasers as well. And that's when I had seen that, so I wanted to do a review of these.
So anyway, there's one more video, so this is going to be part 2. And if you haven't done it already, please subscribe and share our videos with your friends and family. And please don't forget that thumbs up. Until our next video, which will be part 3, peace.